What's happening? It's Contrast Uncut, Season 2, Episode 28. Big shout outs to Uncle Snoop's Army and Bobby D Presents. None of this show would be possible without you guys. I appreciate you. Man, I got a very special guest. This person means a lot to me personally, but along with many, many others, you definitely have touched their lives in so many ways. Whether you've seen him on Hidden Heights on PBS, or you've been in the audience of him motivational speaking, or you've seen some of his work on what he's produced. I mean, the man is all over the place as much as he can to give from the heart. Today I have Mr. Teach Timothy Jones. What's happening?
What's happening, bro? Appreciate you having me on the show.
Man, it's all love. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. You know, time's the most finite thing we have. So whenever I get some, I make sure I appreciate and let you know that.
Absolutely.
So I got a quote, and I start every episode with a quote, and pretty much, let me know how it relates to you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't relate to you, I want to know.
Yeah, you got it.
I hope my story inspires everyone out there to keep hustling and chasing their dreams. Nipsey Hussle.
Okay, so two things, man. One, Nip was one of my favorite artists, period, even though he's much younger than me, man. Like, the respect that I have for him and his authenticity. So I'll start with him before I get to the quote. I watched his, I watched his journey, man. I watched his maturation. I mean, he came out young, gangbanging, teenager, typical LA. He's from the same place I'm from. I was born on 98th and Dinker. I mean, you're from the same place as me. So to see Nip, I already liked him. But then I watched this guy mature into a family man, a businessman, an entrepreneur. So I was devastated is a heavy word, man, but I was distraught, when he got gunned down, because he was really on his way somewhere. He was making moves and doing things that were impacting millions. So to respond to the quote, can you read that one more time?
No problem. No, I give all my flowers to Nipsey whenever I can. I use a lot of his quotes, a lot of his inspiration, because, life is not about age. It's about experience.
Yeah.
And the amount of experience he left with people to grow with is uncanny. And really, we can't talk about it too much because, it's for their stories to keep on telling. But
exactly.
I love Nipsey. That's why I use his quotes. It's my second season. This is actually my 58th episode. I probably use 20 Nipsey quotes.
Okay, I get it.
That's just how impactful he's been. But I'll say it again. I hope my story inspires everyone out there to keep hustling and chasing their dreams. Nipsey Hussle.
I think that resonates with me, Zylo, because that's what I want to do, man, is inspired. I mean, that's encompassing everything that I've done professionally for the last 25 years. I don't care if it was related to acting, music, speaking. I speak at the juvenile halls all the time. Before this COVID-19 quarantine, I was in juvenile hall every week, once a week, speaking to my men that are locked down. I speak to the foster youth. Everything that I've been doing has been to inspire. And that's it. I'm not chasing money. I like that Nip, I know his whole story. Even when Rick Ross tried to sign him, he was like, nah, man, no disrespect. I can't do that. I got to maintain ownership. He wasn't chasing money, and I think that's why I really liked him. He was like a little brother to me because I saw so much of myself in him, that he had these core values of how he transcended the streets. This was something that he wanted to do as a lifestyle, put people on, own what he was doing, take his time. He wasn't in a rush. Even when he found out he got signed to Atlantic, he didn't want to announce it. He didn't announce it for a year until his album came out. He wasn't caught up in the glitz and the glamour. And so I saw somebody get gunned down who really cared about his community. So for me, that's my response in regards to inspiration. That's my life's mission, man, is to inspire somebody, one, to make better decisions that I did when I was younger, and then to maximize their potential, man, because we got so much that we can do in this world, and a lot of us are living beneath our potential.
Absolutely. A lot of the reason why I do this show is the bottom line is I have success stories. And, I'm going to get into, your story here in a second. But that's just, the whole idea is to inspire from people that are from the same type of environments that Nipsey grew up in. And, Like I grew up in the struggle, you've grown up in the struggle. You just said you was in South Central.
Yeah.
You was where the riots was at. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Back in the 90s. So
Yeah.
like you're in the heart of it, and you see the real adversity of struggle that it lies in people and what it does. And that stuff eats people alive, unfortunately. Yeah. And so, you know, to have this platform and have you on there and all the other guests I've had, that's the main reason why I do it, is to inspire. Because
that's good, man.
When I was in juvenile hall, I wish you would have came around. I would have probably finished college.
For sure, man.
You know, because you leave that impression that not only do I want to do right, but you leave the impression that you want to do good with everything you touch.
Well, see, Z, I didn't know that about you, man. So, like, you know, the audience is going to learn some things about me that they didn't know, but I just learned something about you, man. So, yeah, I feel you, man. Like, you represent the demographic of the kids that I speak to every week, man. Like, these are the kids, I call them the outcasts. You know, a lot of them didn't get a blueprint. You know, they didn't have dad in the house. A lot of them, you know, mom was not present or she was working. And in many cases, there was, you know, drug addiction involved or absenteeism. And, you know, it creates an environment for a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy to have to grow up real fast. And now I know who I'm talking to, man. So I know your journey, man. Much respect.
Hey, no, that's love. I appreciate you. No, sure, you resonated with me the moment I saw you and heard you talk at Compassion Christian Center, to be very honest. But, you know, you said something in there. You said outcast, and you're absolutely right. And the ability of being an outcast, you have to appreciate it, because to a degree it puts a chip on your shoulder, but you need to realize you have to become an outlier as an outcast.
Yeah.
And you need to become a master of what you're doing, and you'll really see the benefits, because people don't go through the same obstacles you go through. They just walk forward. We got to climb up, climb down to go forward.
Yeah.
You know, it's just...
Exactly.
So, you know, I'm going to keep on digging in.
Oh, yeah, let's dig.
I got to start here. Did the game choose you, or did you choose the game?
Oh, my God. That's a good question, Z. I was a kid, man. Now let me make sure I clarify. Are we referring to the culture of gang activity? Are we referring to the music industry or the entertainment industry? What you got to clarify, then I can answer.
Unfortunately, I've been in the music industry for the past 16 years, and the street world is mixed in with the street world is mixed in with this music culture. Whether we want to look left, look right, you know, it's tied in. And then the streets and the music is also tied into the entertainment. Whether
that's right. Okay.
From a Hollywood perspective, you know, these people that just got arrested and all this crazy hoopla, you know, they've been real gangsters with money for a long time. We just didn't refer to them as that. But,
for sure.
You know, the game, it's a game all the way across the board.
Absolutely. So let me say this then. The game chose me because, you know, as much as I loved music as a kid, man, I came from that 80s era with Run DMC, LL Cool J, you know, Big Daddy Kane, loved music, you know, grew up with that hip hop culture mentality. But what sucked me in was the game. So the game chose me, man, because of where I was from, who I was affiliated with in regards to family. And that's where I got love from, man. I think I fell in love with hip hop through the streets, now that you've clarified the question, you know, because we were hip hop. Our outfits, the way we wore our hair. I went from, you know, the Gumby in the 80s to the cold waves, man. Like I make you seasick in the 90s.
I was dipping.
It was all that, and it was all hip hop.
Right.
You know, I grew up in, I mean, my heyday, so to speak, was the 90s, man. White t-shirts from Slauson Swap Meet, 501, you know, blues, crease down the middle, Nike Cortez, you know what I'm saying? Everything had to be clean and spotless with creases on it. But that was all hip hop. So yeah, it chose me. And, you know, unfortunately, there's some negative ramifications that come with that if you don't have the maturity to handle it. And we look at Nip, you know, now Nip is a legend, but he also died prematurely. That never should have happened to him, man. You never heard of like the owner of Pepsi gunning down the owner of Coke. You know what I'm saying? Like we're the only ones that do that. And that breaks me to know that he's gone. Like his children's father is gone. You know, Lauren London's man is gone. So yeah, there was some negativity that I experienced through the game, and I had to get out of that negativity, but the game chose me.
You know, I always think of that bar that came out, you know, post him passing away. And he said that bar, like, you know, if I make it out, I'll give people different advice. And, you know, that thing resonates with me because one, it came out after he passed away on Mustard's album, Perfect Time, Perfect 10.
Exactly, Perfect 10.
And, you know, so that resonates that he was already embodying the visions of like, you know, this is a potential thing. And, you know, if I do make it out, if I do make it past these visions, that, you know, there'll be a parallel of me teaching people to avoid.
Yeah. Nip was a genius, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, $100 mixtapes. Come on,
man.
Man,
but here's the thing, though, Z, you right. $100 mixtape. That's the business side of it, man. From a philosophical standpoint, if people go back, my stepmom, man, older, you know, much older than me. She said she didn't know who Nipsey was until he passed, and she looked him up. For all the people who look him up and listen to some interviews, dude was brilliant. This is a dude that said that, you know, Lauren London said that he would go to bed at night, get on her last nerve because he would go to bed listening to books on tape. You know, after we kiss, hug, do our thing, when I go to sleep, I'm pushing play and he's listening to entire books. You could listen to his vocabulary. You could listen to the things that, you know, he was talking about, his content of his conversations. He had evolved. There was no longer, you know what I'm saying, rolling 60s Crip. That's all I can talk about. No, his vocabulary expanded to the point where let's talk business, let's talk entrepreneurship, let's talk owning residentials versus commercial. He was on a whole different page, man.
So he brought up a really great point. It took him to get out. It don't matter where you at, wherever you make yourself a cul-de-sac at and put a walls around you of where you can go, you have to realize that that's going to limit you on not only what you can speak about, but what you can convey to the world.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think about Nipsey. I'm not gonna spend too much more time about Nipsey because I got Timothy Jones here. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good, man. I love Nip.
But I think about the time, the first time I saw Nipsey come out, the Game brought him out, and you know, this is during the time that Bloods and Crips were at a very all-time high of funk. And here you have Game has Nipsey opening up for him, and that started to really knock down some of the you know, the politics in that situation, because he's like, you know, if everyone's making money and he's positive about it and he's a factor, and then you go to, you know, Game's history and his brother and, you know, the history of their factors, and they're over here making everything right, it put the whole perception that we can move past this. And, you know, you still got stuff going on, but the idea that it could be done in such a big way, you know, why we got YG and Nipsey working together, why you got YG signing Crips to his label and vice versa. Like you got Mozzie and so many other people that that are really inspired by his work. Like I had an interview with Big Rich in San Francisco, and he dubbed himself the Nipsey of Frisco, the Bay. And you know, he said I met him twice, and he was like, you know, I never put myself out there like that to him that I was doing these works. But he's the guy he's with the mayor of San Francisco changing. He's running Juneteenth. He's running the jazz festival to bring the culture of San Francisco so that it's to the way how it should be perceived, not so much the gangsterism of Hunters Point and Fillmore and all and the gentrification that's going on. You know, and so I think about what Big Rich did, and then I hear his perception. I go back to Nipsey, and you know, it just goes so much. And then I think about what you're doing constantly. You're constantly trying to make changes where the microscope's not on you. You don't have a platform where you have a microphone that you can literally talk to 100 million people on this platform. But you go to the trenches of where it matters and put into the minds of where they can make change and make peace and make growth. And
appreciate it, bro.
Something that I got to make sure that, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about that.
Let's do it.
So what inspired you, or what led you to pretty much make the turn from I can go left to where all the activities at, or I can go right and go to entertainment and, you know, start making choices that will reflect better for my life?
Well, the turning point for me was a phone call from my brother Corey, 1995. I'm really like, I'm at a place in my life where, like you mentioned, going left and right, but it's getting real hot too. The streets are hot. Like the stuff that used to be fun and was like play, and we see Zylo doing his thing and he just got popped, and we see so-and-so just got killed, and you know, so-and-so got the girl. And we just kind of like on the sidelines laughing at it all. Now I'm in the middle of this, you know, in the trenches, man, and it's getting hot. And if I don't make a decision soon, I mean, I'm either going, you know, to the cemetery or, you know, to prison. And you know, that was just a place that I was at internally. I didn't talk about it a lot, but you know, I came up in the 90s when people were really vocal about the fact that I'm probably not going to see 21. You know, I hate to say it that way, but it was a common theme. You know, like now you got kids that's popping perks and, you know, and everybody's talking on a real trendy level in 2020 about what they're doing. Well, in the 90s, man, we knew that, you know, with LAPD and what was going on in LA, and the death toll, and really it was a nationwide thing, but where I was living and where I was, going to El Camino Junior College, you know, living in Gardena, the common conversation was, let's have fun now. And so my brother called me a couple of years later, and, you know, we had a heart-to-heart conversation, and he basically laid it out for me that, you know, sometimes you need a mentor and you need to listen to the mentors. And I didn't want to listen to anybody. And I finally got on the phone with somebody I respected. And when he had my ear, he basically told me what I just told you. This is what's going to happen. Is that what you want? And I said, no. And man, I got in the studio and I recorded a demo, you know, doing positive music, inspirational music. And obviously it wasn't popular. It wasn't popular then. And I think we're starting to see more acceptance of like socially conscious music. You know, we love Common. I'm so happy for him. You know, we love Lecrae. But I was doing it at a time when nobody wanted to hear it, but I didn't want to die. You know, so, you know, that segued into acting, which continually evolved. I started doing theater, and I started seeing that I could use my gifts and talents for something productive as opposed to being in these streets, you know, suffering repercussions.
See, and it's so deep. Now, did you take any acting classes, or did you go just transition like, you know, I'm fit for this, I can try these roles?
Z, you asked a great question, man. I think acting classes are good. I've actually taken more acting classes recently after being in the game for 20-something years, but on the front end, I didn't, and let me explain that. I didn't choose acting. Acting chose me. I was out doing hip-hop, and AC Green, who used to play for the Lakers, he had a clothing line called, I forget the name of it, so long ago. But he had a clothing line, and a girl that worked for him named Myra, she came up to me afterwards, and she introduced me to a couple named John and Lynette, and they said, we have a play that's coming up in 2 weeks, and our lead actor dropped out, and we want you to be in the play. And I said, no. You know, they lost me with lead. Like, how I'm gonna be the lead? I never acted before. And so they took my number, man, they kept calling me, and they were like, just come to a rehearsal. We know that what we saw, it's like Pac. People like Pac, Ice-T, Ice Cube, they showed the world that art transcends hip-hop. If you can rap, you probably can act because it's art, you know, because we're expressing ourselves. I mean, Cube, when he came out with No Vaseline, I mean, he was killing them. He's laying down everybody in the NWA, but then we also get a chance to see Doughboy, you know, because it's all performance. He ain't really killing nobody. Nope, we don't want to go to prison, but it's art. So I came to the rehearsal, I read for the part, and the directors were like, you are natural. You know, do you believe what you're saying? I said, yeah, I believe it. Just read the lines, but say it like you mean it. And once I got that part, I kept getting part after part after part. We saw you in Zylo's play. We saw you in Frankie's play. And I kept getting parts, man, and I did theater for 18 years before I started doing film.
Wow. And see, I, as a kid, started off as doing acting and taking acting classes. And then you know, I had an opportunity as a national scout or whatever. You know, you go to the whole thing it was the Little Rascals. And I auditioned for Spanky. And long story short, I made it through the first interviews all across the nation. And then I get called back for the second interview. Now it's like 10, 20,000 kids. So now I'm a part of 1,000 kids. I get another call back for the third interview. Now it's only about 100 kids. I get a call back. Now I'm down to the final 4.
Yeah.
Our car breaks down on the way to LA, you know, at the 14 interchange, right? When you go through the 5 and you got the
exactly. 14. Yeah.
So the car broke down, and pretty much I missed my audition, my final audition. That third audition, I met Steven Spielberg because I was coming to LA, living in Bakersfield. I was from LA, but you know, back and forth. My dad passed away. My mom was a nomad, and so and you know, I always think about that moment of like, you know, I could have had my chance. Like, I'll show you kid pictures. Like, I look identical to the kid that got casted as Spanky.
Wow.
And I took that acting, I did a commercial, never did anything, and I let it go. Like, let it go.
Yeah.
And I went back to high school, and before I got to high school, I was really in the streets. Like, I was in LA trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and then my mom was like, "You're way too active. We need to move back to Bakersfield." And so that's what we did. And I kept myself calm and got good grades, and then the streets kept on calling me.
Yeah.
So, you know, you mess with friends that are active, and you think you grew up your whole life that you know that that you see from them.
Yeah, it's contagious. Yeah.
You know what I mean? The attention, you know, the attention alone is so catchy. It's like, well, I got straight A's, I got this, I'm captain of this, and playing sports, they won't know I'm doing this and that. And so I, you know, dug into being more into the streets, and, you know, it eventually allowed me to say, hey, am I going to go more into the streets, or am I going to go more into school? And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do both. And it was a bad decision.
Yeah.
But through that all, I got more into acting. I started doing more theater at high school and doing more clubs, so that now I'm filling up my time at school from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But literally, once I get done, I'm getting picked up by the homies and riding.
There it is. And you know what? Let me jump in, Z. Like, I think that one thing that the listeners need to hear, and I hope they get it from both of us, is that you can't play both sides, man. Like I did that. Everything that you're saying, I can relate to it because I tried it. Man, I'm going to El Camino Junior College by morning and, you know, hanging with killers by night. And you can't do both, you know, because they don't care about school. They don't care about homework. They don't care about your degree or your career path. You know, they care about putting in work, you know, or just getting high. And it's like, you can't mix oil and water, man. So I hope that's one of the messages I try to promote, whether it be like intentionally or just through my life, is like, man, zero in on what you want to do and throw yourself into that. You know what I'm saying? You can't be in darkness and in light. It doesn't work. You got to choose one.
Right. Because the other side will eat you up. Anyway.
Oh, they'll devour you, man. If your heart ain't in it. I know the killers that were all the way in the darkness, and I was all the way like, I'm gonna be at school in the morning, get my homework done, I got this exam, and I'm gonna hang out with y'all in the evening. And just being affiliated. My homie, now I know we haven't gotten to, you know, we'll get to that in a minute about things I'm working on. I'm doing a documentary right now. One of the things I'm doing is on a partner of mine, man. He got 20 years. He was in the dope game, but he wasn't a killer. And one day they robbed somebody, and the partner he was with shot the dude, and he heard the gunshot go off in the next room. He came in, dude is dead. They gave him 25 to life, and just for being there. Right. And the beautiful story in all of the tragedy is he's out now. And you say, how did he get out? Man, let me tell you how God works. The little girl of the guy who died, her daddy, man, years later, she had a change of heart, and she wrote a letter to the parole board asking that they would release him because he had children. And she said, I'll never see my dad again. I don't want his kids to go through what I'm going through. And I'll share more detail, obviously, in the doc, but that's the essence of it, is like, he suffered a tragedy and he was able to triumph over that. Some of these people never make it out. So there's somebody listening right now, man, and they playing both sides just like me and you were. But I hope they, you know, make a decision before it's too late. Because, I mean, I hate the fact that Nip can't get up again. I hate what old boy did. Like, I don't like talking about it. Like, we can talk about Nip, we can talk about Kobe. It's very, very difficult for me to have that conversation because they should still be here.
I agree. And you brought up something in there that, you know, if you're playing both sides, you're going to end up becoming a victim or a suspect of the situation. You know, it doesn't matter how it goes, because if you, like, in that situation, like, you hear something go off and it's in your room next door, you know, that puts you either within the police eyes. They want you to either say something about it, or if you say nothing about it, then you're held, you know, liable of it, and you're going to get some time. And
sure.
It's a scandalous world we live in. Because, like, you know, you're not going to raise your hand at everything you know the answer to. but at the same time, they want you to. And
Yeah.
you know, it's a misconception, especially where we come from.
Absolutely.
And it's sad, but at the same time, you brought up a very great point that there's an opportunity to triumph. And a lot of times people take that pit and fall so far in it that, you know, they make their bed, they grow some flowers in that pit, they make it comfortable. And, you know, you have to be able to remind yourself to get out of it and see the triumph, see the glory. Because otherwise you just enjoying that shadow, and life will pass you, or you'll become a victim of the circumstance.
Well, Z, I want people to know, man, like I'm sitting here preaching to the choir, man. I'm looking at you, I'm looking at me. I want people to know that there is hope. Like when my homie was locked up, man, he did, I don't know how many years he was in solitary. So when you in the shoe, man, like there it can become hopeless. And as soon as you lose hope, you're done. But there was something in him that was like, I'm gonna get out one day. You know, and I mean, if you look on paper, that's not what your paperwork say. Your paperwork say 25 with an L. So, but there was something in him, because as soon as you give up, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna start, you know, handling business around me on a regular basis. I'm gonna be here. I got life. If they give me triple life, no big deal. He kept believing that he could get out, man. And when he got out, you know, obviously you got to go to a halfway house for a while. I drove down there, and he and I had a conversation about him writing a book. And so I never intended on doing a documentary on him. It just evolved. But I want whoever's listening to hear this. It doesn't matter how far you've fallen into that pit, whatever that pit is. It may not be the legal system. It may be drug addiction. It may be something else, man. You might be out here pimping. You know, like it may just be you dropped out of school and, you know, you just been smoking weed for the last 5 years. You don't know what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what pit you've fallen in. You got a purpose. There's a plan for your life. There is a career trajectory, if I could say it that way. But you got to believe that.
It starts with you. It always will. And it will end with you in those situations too. Because at the end of the day, when you make those choices, like, you riding with your homies and, you know, it's going to be back you that's one that's sitting down. They separate you once you guys get locked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the hope that we both, that's the whole thing we both have in common. We want to inspire hope, because hope creates change. And we both come from a place of comfort and confidence, and we understand what it takes to make greatness. And a lot of people get strung up on the hoopla of what that really lies, and you put the exclamation point on there.
Yeah.
So let me go back into your story, because, you know, we can talk about stories all day. I mean,
it's all helpful.
When you really in it and you got friends and you make it out, you could look back and say, wow, choices. And, you know, as much as we want to be on the positive side, there also has to be a reflection on the negative side so that there's growth. You got to make a loss into a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Make that L times 3. And,
for sure.
You know, how is all of that outlining into where now here you are, you have made the right decision, you got out of El Camino, you got through El Camino College, Savannah State, I know it's somewhere in there, because I know I always talk about Savannah State.
Right.
And, you know, we also got in there going to theater and really becoming a thespian in the aspect of it, because that evolved you into becoming the actor you are today, the host. And so I want more of just, you know, what transpired?
Well, you know, I want to say a couple of things. One, everything you just talked about, El Camino, Savannah State, thespian. You know what, man? Like, you know, you ask about, you know, kind of holding on to the essence of who you are and everything, kind of working towards, you know, the end result. I don't have many regrets, Z. You talk about lessons learned, you know, no losses, just lessons learned. You're right. You know, are there things that I wish I could turn the hands of time back? Yes, I do believe that we don't have to. I don't think experience is the best teacher. I think other people's experience is the best teacher. So now I'm not at this age saying, I got to file bankruptcy 7 times, be married 8 times, so I can learn how to manage money and learn how to have a good marriage. That's not what I'm saying. I think we should look at other people's lives and we should learn from that. But I am saying that everything that I've gone through in my life has contributed to who I am today, one. And then even from, I know this is not that important when it relates to life, but even from a career standpoint, Z, when it comes to acting, I can play any character. I was him. They say, you know, can you play the thug? I can play the thug on Monday, the lawyer on Tuesday, the corporate America, you know, shyster on Wednesday, the politician on Thursday, the preacher on Friday, the pimp on Saturday. I'm very thankful, man, for all the people I've been exposed to and all my life experience. But to your initial question about the transition, I want it better for my life, man. You know, I think about things like a particular girl I was dating in college. You know, we thought she was pregnant. And, you know, she had missed her period. So I think she was like a month and a half late, man. A month is a long time. So at that point, I'm thinking I'm going to be a daddy. And I knew I wasn't ready. It just made me think about my life. And at that particular moment, I said, I got to make some changes, man, just to be a better man. You know, turns out she wasn't pregnant. Period came, and that was that. You know, we broke up later and life goes on. But my point about me is that I realized, man, at 21, that's when changes took place in my life, that I was headed down a road that was going to produce some consequences that I didn't want. And I just wanted better for my life, man. I saw other students had cars and they had apartments off campus and they were graduating and they were getting jobs. And, you know, I was getting high on campus and selling dope with other cats, you know, and we're in college. You're supposed to be going to class and like, we knocking 20 sacks in front of the dormitory. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds funny now, but I saw my future and I didn't like it. And, you know, that's when I segued into music and acting, and it just continued, man, into, you know, producing and hosting, etc. And now I'm creating a lot more often because now I'm taking control of taking my career in the driver's seat, so to speak, because you can't sit back and wait for everybody to do for you what you want to be done, man. Look at Tyler Perry. I mean, this dude owns his own studio, 400 acres. It's the biggest studio ever. You can put Sony, Warner Brothers, and MGM and all of them on his lot. That started with his mentality in the 90s that I'm going to own it. Well, he never would have got there, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I didn't sit back and say, I need to take ownership. We blame white people. We blame our father. We blame our mother. We blame people. We blame everybody sometimes for our problems, man. And I got tired of making excuses, and I got tired of holding other people accountable, and I started holding myself accountable.
Isn't it amazing, Teach, how you just pretty much remove the excuse and find a way to get to it, and so many things will happen with a snowball effect. That's God.
Lord have mercy. Exactly.
It's just so amazing how you can try and go to all these different things you want to go to, but it's not the right place for you until that door opens up of like, no, I've been waiting for you to come to this door. I've been waiting for you to reach out to this person. And as soon as you reach out, it's like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I you know, you can't get more on you that you can bear, but sometimes it'd be like, man, I got all of this on me and I'm trying to walk and carry it all. And you know, all it's doing is building more strength, more muscle memory, more guidance of what to do for others.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the more you put on your back, the more you can also dish out to help out.
Yeah.
Because you have more on you.
You know what's a trip, man? I'll throw this in real quick. I know this is not synonymous with, you know, the theme of like the transition, but I think it's very helpful because it was true for my life. One thing I had to learn, man, was that you got to forgive, man. You got to forgive people. You know, I was walking around angry. I was self-destructing. I didn't know that I was doing this to myself. I was doing suffering, but I was self-destructing because I was angry at so many different people and I was blaming so many different people. And there's somebody listening right now, man, and they know, you know, who that person is in their life or who those people are. And sometimes you got to forgive yourself. But at some point, you got to forgive because nobody wants to work with angry people. Nobody wants to collaborate with bitter people. Like, there's a lot of doors opened up for me. I didn't know that it was the recipe for advancement, but I noticed that when I forgave, man, and just said, you know what, I got to let that go. As soon as I started trying things, people were like, oh, I know Zylo, and he'll call Frank, and Frank will call Paul. Now all of a sudden, like one of my friends, Keith, he says, it's not what you know or who you know, it's who you know that likes you. And there's a lot of unlikable people out here, and don't nobody want to work with you. Nobody's gonna make no phone call to hook you up. Like, we all want to hook up. Well, people get hooked up when people like them. And I mean, as soon as I got rid of the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, and I became humble, and I wanted to learn, and I was a sponge, people wanted me around. And that's how I got to that performance. And AC Green's representative comes up to me because she liked me. And she introduced me to the couple, and they liked me. And they wanted to cast me, and they introduced me to the cast, and they liked me. I'm not saying we go around kissing people's butt. I'm saying we go around being kind, but you can't be kind if you're still holding on to yesterday's trauma.
And see, that's something I give a lot of credit to you. I talk about you a lot because there's something, you know, those moments in my life where you came down from Riverside to Bakersfield to give those motivational speeches. I know it wasn't motivational, but it touched us. It touched me especially. And there was situations like forgiving somebody. And, you know, I love my family. I love everybody I've been coming up with. But, you know, if you're the fifth person in the group and they're all broke and they're all looking at you, guess what? You're going to be the fifth person that's broke. And, you know, I had to be able to understand that and forgive myself for thinking like, you know, hey, that, you know, that life's going to change. The definition of insanity is, you know, getting the same result over and over again, or think you're going to get a different result over and over again doing the same thing.
Right.
I'm sorry, I had to run that on. But, you know, and it took that moment of like, you know, I have to open up myself, and you put that in me like an infection of like, man, you got to do this right, and it has to be infectious and go everywhere. And that's what I started to do with being able to forgive. And I was able to forgive my brother. I was able to forgive my folks that, you know, I've been coming up with, and that allowed me to start seeing more of the fruit instead of the sourness of everything. And you know, that resonated with me, and I talk about this a lot. And like, no, when I have my interviews and I'm talking to people, like I'm not going to say any names, but you know, there's a group that came up very big, but they came underneath this guy's brother, and you know, they got into a funk because he wanted to stay home he was battling for his kids, and you know, I'm going to sum this up real fast, but he didn't want to forgive his brother, because his brother was upset about the money and him not going to Brazil for a show, and you know, it became a big deal. And to this day, they're still not talking. And, you know, we talked about it off air, and I was like, you know, I learned that you have to forgive. You don't have to forgive them in that per se, but you have to forgive yourself and forgive them with yourself to move forward. And he looked at me like, man, don't be bringing that hoopla over here. And that ideology. And, you know, at the end of the episode, he came up to me and was like, you know, great interview. I'm not going to go into that, but he said, man, that actually stuck with me. After the whole interview, what you said stuck with me. And I'm like, no, the same way that it stuck with him, it stuck with me, and it's moving forward. I'm spreading that infection as much as I can. Forgiveness.
Man, it's powerful, man. Yeah, we can spend all day on that. It's relevant.
Absolutely. And shoot, I tell everybody that's quarantined and you know, going through all of this, take the time to do some forgiveness.
Man. This is that time. I love that you brought that up. This is that time, man. I posted something the other day and I said, maximize the time that you're given. You know, now's an opportunity to get quiet, get you a pen and pad, and ask God to give you wisdom, and then start writing down those ideas that come to you. Well, that was more about maximizing your potential, man, being, you know, purpose-driven. But when it comes to forgiveness, man, I had to write a list. I mean, this was years ago. But, man, you write down a list of the people that hurt you, the women that hurt you, your homies that turned on you. Like, you know, you don't realize how many people hurt you till you start writing that stuff down. And I had to intentionally forgive them. It was for me. You know, I like how Joyce Meyer says that unforgiveness is like you drinking poison and hoping that the person who hurt you dies. It's insane. Like, it's killing you. You see them in the hood, and you like, there you go right there, cuz. And it's like, yeah, he ain't even thinking about you.
Nah.
You gotta let that stuff go, bro.
Yeah, you wasted all that energy.
Yeah.
Man, hate takes a lot of energy out of you. It really does.
And it takes years off your life, bro.
Whew. Whew.
Your quality of life, man. Can you think about that? That you can actually be out here having good relationships, good marriages. There's people who got bad marriages because you're mad at your dad. You know what I'm saying? Like a woman is mad at her husband, but she's really mad at her dad. So she says things like, "You can't tell me what to do. You ain't my daddy." Well, deep down inside, you don't even like your dad. And a man can do it. So like it can be father-son relationships, marriage. It can be co-workers. It can be different ethnicities. People that mean you no harm, but they remind you of that third grade teacher that didn't like you. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta let that stuff go. It's unhealthy.
And see, you brought up something that I got to make sure that I added this segment because of Compassion Christian Center and Agape Land. They have this thing where they awarded me being a dedicated dad. And in my mind, I didn't have a dad since my dad passed away at 4. So I'm like, in my mind, I got to be in my kid's life no matter what, no matter how busy I get, no matter anything, I have to find ways. Even if I got to communicate more with my wife on my schedule and she gets upset that I schedule something, I have to reschedule. That's just,
right.
You try to, in the entertainment world, you're trying to get as much as you can, opportunities. But you also have a balance of trying to create a balance of, being there for your children, being there for your wife, being there for your family. And, I gotta give my hat off to you for being a dedicated father. And, I see a lot of the posts. I see a lot of the growth. I've seen also the challenges you faced as well.
Yeah.
Because you're very transparent. And I gotta make sure that I take my hat off to you for being, the dedicated father that you are. And, how do you keep up with it? How do you balance?
Hey man, that's a great question. And my answer is going to sound real simple, but it's the best answer I can give you. They got to come first. It's actually very simple. It's like, how do you, save money? You got to save first. You know what I'm saying? Like if we were talking about money. But in regards to your children, man, the very simple way, and I've seen a lot of people neglect their children, and then you're trying to figure out how to balance everything. I heard a very well-respected football player recently do an interview, and I really like this cat. I liked him before the interview, and I like him now. But I didn't agree with one of the things he said. And he said that he put football before everything, before marriage, before children, and that's how he accomplished everything that he did. I understood the logic in what he was saying was be dedicated to what you're doing, be disciplined, be focused. I understood exactly the point he was trying to make. But I don't agree with that. My kids come first. I'm going to be at their recital. Oh. Exactly. I'm going to be at their recital. I'm going to be at their performance. I'm going to be there to pick them up. My child's not walking home. If I have anything to do with it, my child's not going to be molested. They're not going to be raped. They're not going to be off drifting through the city while I'm out making my dreams come true in some other part of the world and we are FaceTiming. Nah, I'm going to train you and raise you and get you to a place where you're an adult now. You can make your own decisions and you have the foundation laid to make the right choices and to understand that when you make a bad choice, you can recover from it. And now I'm going to focus. It's just order. You know what I'm saying? Like when you cooking dinner or breakfast, you don't make the eggs first and they just sit there for hours cold. That's stupid. Right. But some of us are doing stupid stuff with our kids. It's like, they need you. You shouldn't have had kids if you weren't going to put them first. They don't have a blueprint out here. They're learning about things in the street. They're getting a warped perception of what the right way to handle things is because you didn't give them a blueprint. I tell my father, I say it publicly and I tell him privately. My dad kept me out of prison. When you're a kid, you telling people, yeah, my dad whooped me for this and he whooped me for that. Man, I get whoopings every day. Man, he taught me discipline. He taught me, like, I never smoked crack. I did a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have done. I'm just using this as a facetious example. But there were certain things in life I wouldn't do because, I knew that there was some repercussions for that. I'm seeing you smoke crack and I see you take all your clothes off and run down the street, you humping a tree. I don't want that. I'm straight. Yeah, I went to jail, but I didn't go to prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not faulting people that went to prison. I'm saying, fathers, your children need you to be present. That's all I'm saying. And my kids come first.
Real talk. No, and I feel like a lot of people, you know, somebody I also want to give you credit to, you're a girl dad. A lot of men, you know, it's a society, like, you know, we talked about Kobe, and, you know, the reality is it's a society that, you know, if you have a daughter, a lot of people just scapegoat and get up out of there. And, you know, it's sad, but it's a reality. And you brought up so many important points of what you just said that you don't want your daughter to have to face, because you're instilling these core values in her to know what to do in situations. And that's the thing that people forget. Like, hey, that daughter that you ran away from is eventually going to become something, and she has your DNA in it. Like, whether you're going to deny it or not, it's in there. And, you know, the best thing you can do is build and overcome, instead of let it be drowned through and ran through the bottom.
For sure.
So let me go ahead. Let's go ahead and transition, because I feel like
and just so that you know, because I'm looking at my battery pop up on me, it's saying I probably got about 15 minutes left.
Okay, let's see where we at. All right, so I'm gonna try and run through the rest of the show, because it was all improv. Like, I wanted to talk. It's
all good, man. It's generic. It's natural.
And, you know, it definitely went there exactly how I envisioned, and that's exactly what I wanted to get across to the audience. And now, you know, the audience knows what I'm about to hit you with next, and I'm gonna let you know. I'm talking about more awareness, because it's a segment I ask every guest: when was the last time you were pulled over? And, you know, I bring up the moment of when I was a kid and I was making dumb things where I was in the bed of a truck, robbed somebody, and, you know, I went to jail. I went to juvenile hall, everything, and I was just front page of Sunday newspaper. I don't know if you could see that up there. And then 3 weeks later, I ended up robbing somebody and going to jail. And, you know, I think about these times because I didn't know what to do in the situation. I didn't know to shut up.
Yeah.
I didn't know to not move around and be hella extra. Like, you know what I mean? And instead, I got thrown to the ground, and, you know, all the fun stuff about dealing with And so I take that moment, and then I'm like, you know, if I can educate more people on what to do, number one, don't do no dumb things like I did. And number two, there's innocent people that are driving regularly, and, you know, they're coming from practice, coming from school, coming from their friend's house, and they don't know what to do. So I asked my guests last time they were pulled over, or a story that stands out, or something that stands out to you, and we'll go.
Oh man, the last time I can remember being pulled over, because fortunately it hasn't been recently, I had one time behind me, man, at the light, and you know, once you become an adult, I had my family in the car at the time. Once you become an adult and you know you ain't riding dirty, man, the car's clean, you good, your license is good. You know, I got to the point where I didn't care. Like, I mean, I was scared back in the day because you didn't want to get caught. I'm not doing nothing now. So light turned green, I took off. I accelerated quickly. I didn't peel off, but I just took off. Like, I see you, but I don't see you. Like, do what you got to do. Speed limit was 50. I accelerated quick, man, got up to 50 and balanced out. He felt like I disrespected him. He didn't like that I took off. Pulled me over, license, registration. I said, what's the problem? He said, you took off kind of fast there. You in a hurry? And so now I switch. I got a suit on, man. I'm on my way to church. My kids are in the back. I switched into Mr., you know, like me and you, we got layers. We can do the street thing, but like we've been educated enough to where we can do the corporate thing too. So you decide what you want to do, man. Like, so he says, you know, you took off kind of fast. I said, officer, accelerating quickly is not a violation of the law. I got to 50 and I stopped. And he just kind of looked at me like he didn't expect me to be intelligent. I give him the license, registration. He goes to the car for about 15 minutes, man, did not come back. I'm hot now because if I know I'm innocent, I'm hot. Yeah. He comes back and says, all right, I'm going to go ahead and let you go with a warning this time, you know, but you slow it down. He didn't like that I took off fastly. He felt like I should have been scared. I see the cops. I'm at 10 and 2. Let me be scared. I'm not scared. Y'all supposed to be protecting and serving, not intimidating. Whew. So, you know, when he gave me back my license and registration and said, slow it down, I said, no problem. I got in the car and took off fast. I'm just I didn't peel off, but I mean, like I was in a Lexus at the time and like, you know, I took off. and I got to the light, turned right, and went to church. Like, stop pulling me over just because you can. Like, you know, so that was my experience. But I have no issue. Let me say this too, Z. I know this wasn't your question. I don't have an issue with law enforcement. You asked me a question about when was the last time I was pulled over. I told you the truth. But let me also tell you, my brother is a police officer. My brother is a detective. He got to a place in his life where he had experienced enough of the disrespect and the suspicion and the inconveniencing that he wanted to be a better guy. And now he's out there, you know, enforcing the law from a very respectful place. So we got a lot of good cops, man. We got bad cops. We got good lawyers, bad lawyers. We got good preachers. We got people that's pimping people. So it goes, you know, I want to make sure whoever's listening understands, I don't have a problem with law enforcement. I had a problem with that guy for pulling me over for taking off quickly. But there's a lot of good cops out there and they want to go home at night too. And I love what you said. Put your hands on the steering wheel. If I had a son, I'd tell him. I told my nephew, put your hands on the steering wheel. Be respectful. You know, you want to go home tonight.
Exactly. And, you know, you brought up a very good point because you took off fast. He didn't like it. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to slow him down. I'm going to sit in my car, probably get on my phone, play some video games, and then I'm going to get up and give him back his license. And, you know, that takes out 20 minutes of their time on their
Yes.
And, you know, as much as I talk about it, I talk about the bad cops, but you're absolutely right. There are good cops. There's people that's really making a difference in society and they're protecting and serving. And,
Right.
you know, I definitely want to have those people on my show at some point.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, for all the other stuff, it's more of just awareness. Like, you can do anything you want in those situations and it can actually become something greater or lesser, and less is more.
Yeah. Got it.
Let's have some fun. I know we're running short on time. I do a thing called Trading Places. And it's just like, you know, the movie back in the day, Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, they wake up and life's change.
Yeah.
And so for you today, question number 1 is, will it work? Question number 2 is, what would life be like with this switching? And we'll keep it quick. So today I got Michael B. Jordan trading places with Sylvester Stallone.
Will it work?
Will it work?
Trading places with Sylvester Stallone, just in life in general.
Yeah, start over. We're talking about the beginning time. You think that Michael B. Jordan can do everything Sylvester Stallone did? And do you think Sylvester Stallone could do everything that Michael B. Jordan has done?
I don't think so. And that's respect to both of them. I don't know, because Michael B. Jordan been in the game since he was a kid. I mean, this was a kid that was on, what's the show down in Baltimore? You know, Idris was on. It started the phenomenon for all gangster TV shows. The Wire.
Yeah,
he was on The Wire. Yeah. So Michael B. was like 7, 8, 9 years old on The Wire. I don't know that he would write, produce, and direct Rambo. You know, Sylvester kind of like created a career for himself. So right. I don't know if Mike could do that. The flip side of that is, Sylvester Stallone didn't have the skill set, in my opinion, that Michael B. Jordan had as a kid. So I don't know what he was doing as a kid. Like, get out of here, you know what I'm saying, Stallone? I don't know what he was doing, but I don't think he had the range that Michael B. Jordan has as a kid. So no.
You brought up a great point, because Sylvester Stallone submitted Rocky and they didn't get picked up for like 5 years, and he was homeless when that thing hit. And
come on.
You know, you brought up such an important, impactful moment in Sylvester Stallone. But I think, you know, in the same aspect that Michael B. Jordan was in there, I think in that aspect, he would have a greater range of film and TV than Sylvester Stallone did. I'm not trying to knock what he's done.
Sure.
Stallone has done amazing work.
Oh, man, he's brilliant.
But like being a pioneer and then giving the pioneer opportunity to a young cat like Michael B. Jordan and giving him that range and time, I think that, you know, film would change. Film would have definitely
absolutely
changed.
I think they both have a unique skill set, man. I love the questions and I'm having fun with it. But they both have a unique skill set that, you know, I don't know how much it transcends you know, their culture and where they grew up and all that, you know.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So, it'd be fun. So you say no, it won't work, and it'd be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
So pretty much this is for the fans. Came with this idea of impulse Q&A. And so they got these random questions on these cards, but they don't pay me, so I don't say their name. But they're great questions. And so we'll knock out 3 of them.
Hit me.
They're random, and let's get it going. Do you have an option to pass? If everything in your house had to be one color, what color would you choose?
Brown, man. I like earth tones. So it has nothing to do with me being black. It would be brown because it's warm if I had to choose one color.
Hey, I just learned something. What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
My oldest daughter is so adventurous, man. She convinced me to eat octopus. Man, I mean, like that tentacles was coming out of my mouth, man. I'm like, I don't think I'll do it again.
Nah.
No flavor. It was like eating a rubber boot. Believe it.
Shit, I don't even want to know what a rubber boot tastes like.
Exactly.
Question number 3. What's your worst roommate or house guest story?
Easy. My worst roommate story was my first year of college. My roommate, I don't even remember his name because it only lasted 1 semester. He was the stinkiest, funkiest, underwear drawers with skid marks all over the room, socks everywhere. He kept our room like he kept his room at home. I said, look, homie, we ain't finna do this. You know, like this is not gonna work. I opened the door, man, and it smelled like somebody's toes been walking in Cheetos and Doritos and Fritos all day dipped in oregano. Nah, bro, we're not living like this. And after the first semester, I said, man, I'm out. He was like, yeah, I was gonna leave too. So I went and got another roommate, he did too, and we was both happy.
Damn, he scarred the room before he left.
Lord have mercy, man. You can't even go to sleep, man, when you think COVID-19 is bad, and it is. I'm having fun. Man, I mean, I opened up the room and it was a pandemic. Believe it.
He said the trash can outside next to my window smelled better than him.
I'm gasping for breath trying to go to sleep in my own room. Cause you smell like you ain't took a shower in 3 days.
You know what? It makes sense why you had such a struggle with college. He was like, I'd rather be out trying to get it than deal with this shit.
Come on, man, with some fresh air. Exactly.
Okay. What are you most excited for coming up?
Oh my goodness.
Documentary.
Well, you know what? I know this is kind of a cookie cutter answer, but it's the truth. What I'm most excited about, man, is this coronavirus being over. You know, I was working before this, and I'm looking forward to getting back with my people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like here we are, me and you on Zoom. That's cool. And we face masked up. I got my mask here too. You know, life has changed. You know, we're hearing the death toll is climbing, but even more so, everything stopped, man. Entertainment stopped. Churches closed. You know, the casinos closed. Like wherever you were going, closed. So I'm ready for the world to reopen. It sounds like I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime, that the world is closed. I know the liquor store is closed. I know when I went down south, they closed the liquor store on Sunday, but like the world is closed. So I'm most excited about the world reopening, man, so that I can continue creating, man, and collaborating in person and, fulfilling my purpose.
See, I always say this thing that the feeling of normal is underrated. Like when you're sick, you're like, all I want to be is normal. Let me just be regular. And here we go. We got this COVID-19.
That's a good point.
And here we are. We just want to be regular and normal. Like going out and seeing the trees, although they're out there, we see them every day. But until you're you don't understand the principle and the appreciation of those trees. Of just the smell of smog in LA sometimes. It's like, smog is gone. I can see all the way to downtown.
Yeah. Z, let me say this, man, because my battery gonna die in about 5 minutes, but let me say this real quick. Like, I love what you said about, well, how did you phrase that about normal?
Feeling normal is underrated.
Okay, you said feeling normal is underrated. Man, there's one of my favorite movies is Crash. And it opens with not Chiwetel, Don Cheadle. And he's narrating, and he says that in California, he thinks that people are lacking the human touch so much, and ethnicities are divided so that we crash into each other because we at least want to feel something. And my point is, when you talk about, normalcy is underrated, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Man, I just want to hug somebody, man. You know what I'm saying? Like we got this 6 feet rule, you know what I'm saying? You got gloves on, but like when I see my brother's granddaughter, my great niece, she's 5 years old, man, I want to pick her up and scoop her like I used to. I want to kiss her on the forehead and everybody not stop, like, rut roll, he might have the Rona. Like, nah, man, like I see people, when I see my dad, and we kind of like know not to do it so nobody's offended. But like, he's like, hey, how you doing? He keeps it moving. I want to hug my dad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah, that's normalcy. And I hope that people in this world that took that stuff for granted, the example used about being sick, man, like we sitting here talking and laughing, I'm not taking this for granted. I had strep throat in December, man. It was so bad. You don't want a bunch of money, a great career opportunity. You want to feel better.
That's it.
So I hope that people embrace all of their blessings, man, like now, number one, and then when this is over, don't take nothing for granted.
And give all glory to God.
Boom.
Okay, now I know you got like 3 minutes, so I'm gonna flip this real quick on you. You got
for sure.
For me, that's the last thing. If you notice the show's unique, I'm different. I do a little bit of the same, but I try to flip it up, and then I was like, end it on something unique. You got for me.
Well, do you have any more for me? If not, I have one for you. And you already know, man. Please. Okay, so questions for you. I want to know what was your motivation for starting this podcast?
The answer, no. Being told no. No, you can't work with me. No, you can't work at this station. No, I won't even return your phone call. No. And so I started taking that no into what I know and building. I have relationships. I have a lot of core values in relationships, and I have a lot of connections, and I hate I'm wording it like that, but I can't have those connections meet the same thing I need them to meet in what I'm working with. So I have to make a whole new dynamic of what I'm doing. And so I created this show, and I'm able to talk to people like you. I'm able to talk to like my mentors and so many other people, and the walls have cracked. And I had Suge Knight's son on here a couple of days ago. I've had Grammy-winning producers, Grammy-nominated. I had the guy that produced Victory Lap on the show the day Nipsey passed away on the anniversary. Like, I've been really blessed with this show to reach so many people, and it's really that answer of no. Someone told me no a lot, and I'm begging to work with these people to a degree. I mean, I was asking and following up professionally, but in our terms, it's begging. And I got told no over and over again, and then, shoot away. And so I took that as like, all right, I got it. I did it, boy, but I got it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, man.
So opportunity came, and Bobby D got behind my show, and then about 3 to 4 days ago, Uncle Snoop's Army got behind my show, and so I'm in
that's love.
Space. And
well, let me say this, man, before my battery died. I'm proud of you, man. Like you said a lot about me during this podcast. I'm proud of your journey because there's a lot of people listening that you represent. I mean, me and you are very similar, but there's people that are tuned into you. This is my first day on the show, but people tune into you to listen to you, and they can relate to your journey. I'm proud of you as a man. I think we get so caught up in the monetary, the career, the accomplishments, and what we call success, because my definition of success is not related to awards and money and all the stuff that this world says is important. And if you come out with an album today and it's hot, they say you're successful. And if you take a break to spend time with your family, they say, whatever happened to so-and-so? Man, that nigga probably working for UPS. I've heard these comments for years about people. And number one, there's no shame in working for UPS. during the coronavirus, they're the only one bringing you your packages right now. So we need to stop defining success by people's job title or their salary. I said that because I'm proud of you as a man. I know you as a husband. I know you as a father. I see you, man, and I salute you. Your life could have took a different turn with the stumbling blocks and potholes that you fell in, but you got out and you kept going. And this is only the beginning for you, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
For sure. You are now tuned in to Contrast Uncut. It's your boy, Timothy Teach Jones.
Hey, thank you, brother. Man.